Warning, this game contains content that might not be suitable for most audiences. Viewers' discretion is advised. How's it going, everyone? My name is Lion, and welcome to Up All Night Rumination. You guys remember Nick? Yeah, this guy. Well, today we're gonna be sending him to therapy, and if you guys don't know why we're sending him to therapy, hey, I'm starting up a playlist where you can watch the Up All Night series. Link to that is up there and in the description. You all know that I love supporting indie creators, and what better way to celebrate this Halloween than with a whole bunch of content that y'all can just chill with at any time. But anyway, let's get right into it, shall we? My new client's running late. Hey, Mom. Come over for dinner tonight? Sure. You want takeout? Nah. Go out to Parkside Cafe? That girl. She always wants to go to expensive places when I'm the one paying. Sure. See you tonight. The door opened suddenly. If I hadn't glanced up to check for his arrival, I wouldn't have noticed him. Session 1. Hey, Nick. He was plain, in a disheveled and tired way. A man who would have looked as if he belonged anywhere, except that his clothes had the rumpled, lived-in look of someone who traveled often and showered little. You must be Nicholas Torres. Nice to meet you. I'm Patricia Rathburn. Yeah, I know. I did request you. Just Nick is fine. I held my hand out toward him, and he looked at it with mistrust. He sat down on the couch without reaching out to finish the greeting. Nick. Okay, sounds good. What brings you here today, Nick? The same thing that brings everyone else here. And what is that? He rumpled his already mussed hair. Talking about proms? You know, that kind of junk. Why don't you give me a rundown? What are you hoping to get out of these sessions? We'll think of this as an introduction. You got any kids? That was a bit of a random question. I meant for him to introduce himself, but I was the one who hadn't specified. There was no real harm in giving him the answer. Yes, I have a daughter. Why do you ask? Do you? Nah, just wondering. We're introducing ourselves, right? Is she older? She is, but that's enough about me. What about you? He looked down at his hands. His skin was clean, but his nails were caked with old dirt, as if they had always been that way. Sorry, it's just that... it's not important. Nick, what's wrong? Oh, nothing. I'm fine. Press him, let it go. Oh! I don't know what my therapist would do. I feel like my therapist would just let it go, actually. I feel like that's something my therapist would do. I'm just gonna let it go. It's warm in here. Can you turn the air on? It's 68 degrees. I wouldn't call that warm. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't. The whole building is on the same thermostat. You could take the jacket off. I prefer to keep it on. I guess everything feels warmer than that place. What place? He hesitated, running a fingernail along the palm of his hand. If you don't want to talk about it yet, that's fine. Maybe we can explore that next session. Yeah, maybe. What's with the decor anyway? Ah, yes. I've always loved the snow. Do you like it? I find it calming. Reminds me of traveling when I was in college. Yeah, it's great. It's really, festive. Just weird for me, you know? I'd expect it to be like this in December. He was quiet for a moment, then looked up, a serious expression on his face. Why blue? For your nails. You seem more like a pink. He grabbed one of the crimson couch pillows. Or maybe a red. He's hyper aware of the colors. I wonder. What about my nails that bothers you? It doesn't fit. That's all. My daughter picked the colors out for me. She's done it since she was a kid. She and her friends would always pick out colors for his moms to wear, even after they moved away. And I guess the tradition stuck. He smiled, a distant, rueful thing. I tapped my finger on the chair arm, and even though I wasn't looking, it was as if I could feel the blue coating on my nails. Better than yellow. What was that? He was clutching the pillow so hard that his fingers were white. This is stupid. I didn't come here to talk about nail colors. I had a friend. Friends. Who died. It's been years, but I can't let it go. That's why I'm here. I felt my eyes widen at this. The revelation of death. That was common enough, but at how angry he looked while speaking about it. Angry at me. Nick, it's not uncommon to relive trauma. What the hell do you know about trauma? I watched him die in front of me. You ever seen that? You ever seen someone die right in front of you? Nick, you just told me you can't let it go. But you're telling me you witnessed their deaths. You need to give yourself a break. Of course it stays with you. Of course it does. I found myself flinching away as he took a shuddering breath, his fist still clenched around the pillow. Quoting his own words back seemed to have an effect. I almost wanted to laugh, but that would probably set him off again. Or maybe that was my own baggage talking. Not everyone is like Richard. Take your own advice. Give yourself a break. Sorry, that was... sorry. I don't know why I get so pissed off now. I didn't used to be like this. Trauma changes us. It's okay to be different now. He laughed, but none of it met his eyes. He had a lot he needed to talk about. You can't always see that on a person's face, but every time I've seen it, they've been on some kind of brink. That's what I tell myself anyway. Well, I should be going. Are you sure? We still have 10 minutes left. We were getting close to something. Yeah, I just have stuff I gotta do. Tell your daughter I like the color she picked out for you. What did you say her name was? Katie. I thought you didn't like it. I thought it didn't suit you, but I've changed my mind. It's, nice, I guess. I guess it works with the story and everything. Thanks. I'll let her know. Katie, huh? Cute name. Well, I'll see you in about a month. The spacing is a little far. Don't you want to schedule a bit more frequently? Therapy won't be as helpful if it's too spread out. Yeah, I got too much going on right now to do it sooner. Thanks for the concern, though. He held his hand out towards me, signaling his unchanged intention to end the conversation early. His hand hung in the space between us. All I could think about were his white knuckles clenched around that red pillow. It made me think of a different hand that had once clenched itself around my wrist. Of course I was shake. God. I reached out and gripped his hand. His fingers were unevenly calloused at his palms, warm but clammy. He was nervous. Well, that was to be expected. A lot of people get nervous the first time they meet someone, and I was supposed to be the sort of person who would take a deep look at all the messy memories and behaviors that make us human. You know, I wasn't sure about you, but you're alright. I laughed. It was good to hear. Get to know me better and maybe you'll change your mind. He grinned back. That's my line. I always ruin everything. Here's hoping I don't ruin this. I think that went well. As soon as he left, I swallowed down a couple of aspirin. A small tension headache was starting to pulse at the bridge of my nose. Why now? I haven't thought of Richard for at least a year, and that man is nothing like him. I sat there, lost in thought until my phone buzzed. My boss. I answered. A voice came through, clear and sonorous. How's the new patient of yours? Alright, he cut out early. He's really closed off, which is to be expected of anyone who's witnessed an unexpected death. Oh, what sort of death? Was it bad? Always with that tone of curious conspiracy when it came to something out of the ordinary. Camilla Lavallee always wanted to know the gory details, and since she was in charge of the offices and a well-known psychiatrist I wrote referrals to, I usually gave them over to her. Not sure. He wouldn't open up about it, but hopefully next session. Can't get anywhere with him if he's not willing to talk about the roots of what's causing him stress. Pretty sure he has signs of PTSD. Well, be sure to refer him over to me if he needs any medication. Alright. Won't be for at least another month or so. He's scheduled pretty far out. Oh, that is far. Maybe give him a reminder call to reconsider. It's never too early to make progress. It can be too late. Dr. Lavallee said that last line in practice recitation. I'd heard it repeated to multiple clients on many occasions. It seemed to work on most people, as if nobody wanted to say no to her. With Nick already gone though, there was nobody to try the line on. Well, guess it's time to see Katie so she can empty my pocketbook at Parkside. Maybe she's found herself a steady boyfriend by now. One who wouldn't mind picking up the tab every now and then. Session 2. Hey, Nick. Whoa. I didn't know people could smoke in therapy offices. Like, typically I don't. He was just as late for his second session as he was for the first one. He had a cigarette between his fingers when he walked in, kept on smoking it as if it never occurred to him to put it out. You know, we can't make full use of the hour if you don't show up on time, Mr. Torres, and there's no smoking. I chilled off after getting a better look at him. There were dark circles under his eyes. It looked far more like a shell of a person than he had a month ago when I first met him. Nick, are you alright? He turned his head towards me slowly, and the hollowness there left a heavy weight at the bottom of my stomach. It was an emptiness that could only contain anything under the surface. Whenever he had looked at me like that, there was always something terrible lurking there, waiting to come out. Richard again. Why the hell does it keep making me think of Richard? He hasn't even done anything. Sorry, Patricia. I've been having trouble sleeping. Nightmares. I breathed a small sigh of relief at his calm reply. See? Nothing lurking there after all. At least, nothing that would be directed at me. The scent of cigarette smoke was filling the office, making me feel dizzy. Would you mind sharing them? He shuddered, looking for all the world like he'd prefer to discuss anything else. Then he let out a deep, resigned sigh and took another drag. Screw it. Now talking about it hasn't helped. I'm sure talking about it can't be any worse. I think I gave someone advice like that once. Told her, it's better not to be alone. That is good advice, but everyone needs solitude sometimes. There's no reason to feel guilty if you do want to be alone. What nightmare were you having? It's about to crash again. Same old nightmares about the crash. The crash? He looked embarrassed. Oh, guess I really didn't say anything that last session, huh? You told me you witnessed a death, but that was it. It was right before high school graduation. Just some dumb party with the football players. It was a quarterback, so I went. Well, I mean, I said I would go. He trailed off, shutting his eyes and holding them closed for a few seconds before opening them again. So there was a crash on the way there. Yeah, I was driving. Some deer darted into the middle of the road and I swerved like an idiot. My two best friends were in the car and they didn't make it. I think Bree died right away, but Tyler, he swallowed hard. I will offer him, should I offer him water or stay silent? I feel like I should probably stay silent. Like, as much as I would want to offer him water, he needs the time to actually process what he's thinking of, so I'm gonna stay silent for now. He kept moaning for hours. I was there, alive, but too messed up to move anywhere. And he just died in front of me. For hours. He was so far gone, he couldn't give me any last words. Just that horrible sound. When our eyes met this time, the amount of rage on his face shocked me. I'm sorry. I cried the words out, as if I were apologizing for his experience, but instead as if I were apologizing for myself, for my sitting there and listening, for my existence. Man, I have a feeling that the therapist is probably new. Probably, but then again, this is definitely a very human, I feel this is definitely a very human response to this. He wasn't the only one reliving old wounds. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I tried to act as if that was what I had meant to say all along. Act as if I hadn't just shouted a desperate apology to a different man who was so far out of my life, he might as well be a ghost. How unprofessional of me. Embarrassing. I watched without comment as ash fell from the butt of his cigarette onto the white couch. It was finally opening up, so I didn't want to push the issue. It's the 7th anniversary of their deaths next week. I think that's why I've been having these nightmares. The time of year of a trauma like that can be hard. How do you cope? Work mostly. I can get really caught up in it. It's hard to feel upset when I'm busy. What do you do? I'm a freelancer. Been doing some research for a side project too. Freelancer? I let the question hang in the air. He shifted around, then shrugged. You know, odd jobs, whatever pays the bills. I helped some lady fix her roof the other week. Did some delivery stuff, those kind of things. At the worn state of his clothes, I could believe it. Whatever it was he did, it didn't bring in much in terms of income. And tell me more about this hobby. It's genealogy stuff. Nothing too exciting. Sometimes you still have to look through stacks of paper for information in a library. It's pretty crazy, you know. Makes me feel like I'm in the 80s or something. The other day, I had to go picking through old newspaper slides using some dusty projector. Well, that would take up time. Going through things like that the old-fashioned way. Maybe you should offer to scan them. Nah, they don't have the funds for a decent scanner. Or I probably would. The damn place is only open for a few hours a day as it is. I mean, who goes to a library anymore? That's too bad. Yeah, it's funny. Never imagined myself to be the kind of guy who'd be complaining about a library not being open long enough. Never spent time at the library in high school. We all change. That seemed to upset him. He went quiet and stared off at a spot above my head. I let the silence hang between us, heavy and suffocating. I think that's the worst part. I can feel myself changing. But they'll always be the same. They'll always be 18. I thought of Katie then. High school graduation cap covered in rhinestones and glistening in the early summer sunlight. The way she had been then, teetering on the edge of adulthood, it had made me want to laugh and burst into tears all at once. But here I am. I can barely recognize myself as the same person, except have these same damn memories. Sometimes I feel like they aren't even mine. That they're just stuck in there from a different head. In a different life. This association is common in cases of post-traumatic stress disorder. It's normal to feel that way. It's not normal at all! We were talking about coping strategies. Is there a person close to you that you can go to for help? Nick rolled his eyes. I travel a lot, so no, not really. My mom likes to call me up to check in. She gets worried, but it just makes me think of everything and, no. He hesitated for a moment. Well, there is this one girl. We just started talking, so maybe her? But I don't know her that well yet. We get along, though. She's funny. I forgot how nice it is to have someone funny as a friend. Well, I hope you can grow into that supportive relationship. How do you usually handle relationships? I don't. Not usually. So, you generally isolate yourself? You should try to be aware of your relationship boundaries then. Since this is something new for you, just be aware of how intensely you become involved. This is something you haven't done for a while, so just take it a step at a time. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. I'll probably mess it up, but I'll keep that in mind. An example of that would be smoking in a private office without asking first. Oh god, I didn't think of it. Okay, I guess I did, but I figured it'd be okay unless you said something. We discussed boundaries in relationships for the remainder of the session. Maybe I shouldn't make him the last appointment of the day. I need to make my own appointment. I keep thinking about Richard. Like I'm the one to talk about PTSD. My phone had a couple of missed calls from an unlisted number. If you're not gonna list your numbers, at least leave a text. Can't exactly answer during a session. An incoming call lit up my screen. It was from Katie. We usually prefer to text. Hey, you busy right now? Just finished the final appointment of the day. You're calling? You usually text. I could hear the shrug in her voice as she replied. Yeah, but I was thinking about some things. This guy called me. A detective? Detective Fletcher, I think. I don't remember his first name. He was asking about Grayson Nash, The murder is old, but I guess he's looking into it again. What would we know about that? She died a few years after she moved away. Oh, it makes me sad just to think about those horrible murders. It had been nearly 7 years since we'd heard about the murders at Aspen Lodge. The general consensus was that the owner of the property had slaughtered the entire Nash family, including their teenage daughter, Grayson, then fled. We had known the Nash family before they moved away, but had heard next to nothing from them since. Katie had tried to call and write letters for a while back then, but nobody ever called her back. I had read about their deaths just like everyone else did. I could tell the detective about slumber parties and summer barbecues before they moved, but that was just about it. Yeah, that's what I told him, but he kept insisting I must know something. I think he's just desperate for some kind of new lead, and out of everyone alive, we knew her best. There was silence on the line, and Katie took a shuddered breath. I really can't believe she didn't make any other friends. She was my best friend until she moved away. She really was a wonderful girl. I guess Kanti and Greg closed themselves off too. Did I tell you I ran into her a month before it happened? If only she hadn't gone up there that weekend. Maybe she was trying to work things out with Greg. Yeah, I think that's kind of what he's looking for. Details like that. He might try to give you a call. He's pretty nosy. I don't know what he wants out of me, but I don't think he got it. I'll keep that in mind. Is there anything else new with you? Yeah, not too much. I didn't meet some guy, but I think I say that every time we talk. I laugh at that. Yeah, she did always seem to have a new man on her arm. Well, you can tell me more about him if he outlasts 4 weeks. How's about that? Haha, very funny. It's a deal. I guess that's usually the cutoff, huh? Oh, Mom. Her voice had shifted to a tone that I know very well. She wanted something from me. Yes? Any chance you want to go get sushi this Saturday? I really do spoil you, don't I? Only 'cause I'm the best. And even though she wasn't there, I knew that she winked at me when she said it. Session 3. Honestly, I love the interaction between, Patricia and Katie. It is so freaking sweet. Nick, are you okay? Well, clearly you're not. I've been thinking a lot about death lately. He was jittery this time, fingers picking at the seams of the couch cushion, legs crossed and tucked under him. Not surprising. You said last time it's near the anniversary of the crash. Well, yeah. Now it basically is the anniversary. I know though. It's just like all the time. About their deaths or yours? Both. Mine mostly. You have any kind of plan? What? No, just like, it'd be kind of nice to not exist. I keep wishing I died there. I guess I've always wished for that. I don't think they'd waste the opportunity like I have. We can't run ourselves in circles thinking things like that, because it's something unknowable. No, I know it. I know it for sure. They would have done better than I have. Bree and Tyler wouldn't have gone up to the freaking mountains. The mountains? Nothing. Just another mistake in a long line of them. All failures. I think I'm about to make another one. About the mistake. I might as well ask about the mistake. He's more fixated on the mistake rather than the accident. I know that the accident is probably on the forefront of his mind. However, considering mistake seems to be like the recurring theme that he's having here. I feel like considering that's the last thing you mentioned, it's better if we ask about that rather than the accident, okay? Because I think he's going to be leading into something here. What new mistake do you think you're going to make? I'm getting close to people again. I thought I could keep my distance, but I find myself getting too attached. It's about the girl you mentioned last time. I guess. I also think I'm getting closer to you. I am sorry? Too close to me in what way? No. I was thinking maybe. Never mind. How are things going in other parts of your life? Outside of relationships? I've been focusing more on my hobby than work. It probably shows, huh? He had a scraggly beard growing in, and the tears on his pants were more pronounced than they were before. I guess it did show. Has that been good for you or bad? Good, I think. For how distracting it is. Just wish it paid. I think I'd just scrapbook forever if I could make money doing it. You like scrapbooking more than you like me. He said it with an entirely flat affectation, looking me dead in the eyes. Oh, good to know I'm worth less than scraps of paper. I tried to protest, but I couldn't make a sound. Something made me feel like I was being choked. It was painfully quiet in the room. A rueful smile broke out on his face. Not only joking, of course. Of course that's better. God, if I got paid to not be me, I'd jump on that. It'd be great for everyone, including myself. My pen rattled against the paper I was taking shorthand notes on, leaving a jittery line of ink hovering over the last word I had written. Richard used to joke like that, with a straight face and cold eyes. He'd only drop it when I started to apologize. Then my eyes started to dart between his hands and his face. Then he'd tell me he was joking, but I was so sure that could never be true. Sorry. I believed you for a moment. What makes you joke around like that? He shrugged. Makes me feel better, I guess. Guess I've always been a bit like that. I find myself saying it out loud now. You think part of that is a defense mechanism, a way to stop people from getting close? You know, never thought about it like that, but yeah, maybe you're right. The new friend I made, she doesn't seem to mind it. Have you asked her? Is it something you would stop if she didn't like it? I try to. It's not that big of a deal. It just became a habit over time. I was thinking of asking her out. What do you think of that? I think that's a big step, but it sounds like it could be something good. You've been talking to her about a month now? Almost 2. So I'm not jumping in if that's what you mean. I worry it's just because I'm lonely though. Maybe her being interested in me is the only reason why I'm interested in her. That's not an uncommon fear. It's also something that you won't know the answer to unless you explore this relationship further. Do you have any more advice for that? How I should handle asking her out? We've both lost friends. I feel like we get each other. We discussed how to pursue healthy relationships until this session was over. Thanks, Miss Rathburn. I actually think these are helping. Well, take care. We can see how it went when we talk next session. Thanks. Oh, one thing. You wouldn't happen to know of anyone who doesn't come out during the day, would you? I blinked at him, unsure about what he meant. What would that have to do with anything? That's a little random. I know. I heard some rumors about people around this building acting weird, only coming out at night. Some guy went missing a month ago, right around here. The question came so out of left field I couldn't help but laugh. What? Like a vampire or something? He nodded. His expression was deadly serious and flat again. Are there any moments you can't remember, like a blank spot where a memory should be? He was making me nervous again. No? He shrugged, then smiled. Sorry, I was doing it again. I don't mean to joke like that. Bad habit. Well, Patricia doesn't know this, but we know he wasn't joking. Like, the fact that we did see vampires, like, towards the end of Up All Night. Oh, jeez. My phone pinged while I was packing up for the day. A message from Katie. Hey, Mom. Have you heard from Dad? I think he was trying to call you. My heart jumped into my throat. I always hated talking to him. Richard. No? Why would he want to talk to me? I don't know. He said he talked to some guy. The detective, maybe? Since he knew Grayson too. Why the hell does he want to talk to me about that? He should talk to him about it then, not me. I told him that. Since you hate him. I don't. It's okay. Not a kid anymore. I know you hate him. I don't hang out with him every week. You know whose side I'm on. I smiled at that. Katie really was my little girl. A little girl who noticed the yelling behind closed doors, the red rims around my eyes no matter how hard I tried to hide that. Remember the day both she and Grayson came to me while she was at work and asked if I was okay. Little girls, 12, and worried about things they shouldn't even know about. I remember telling them I was fine. You don't have to be on his side. Yes, I do. I can't help it. The next text was a string of hearts and unhappy faces. I smiled. A notification popped up over our conversation. A call from my boss. Patricia here. Hey, Patty. How are things going? Please call me Patricia. I'm not a fan of nicknames, Dr. Lavallee. Being called Patty made me feel like a toddler, and I needed all the confidence boosts I could manage right now. Patricia then. It can be so dull sometimes, dear. What was your appointment with that boy? Nick Torres, was it? We made some progress in relationships. Only... Remember his odd question at the end of the session. Only what? Eager as ever to talk about other people's business. He asked me something strange at the end. Something about someone going missing around here recently. What? Nobody's gone missing here. Do not repeat that rumor. It's bad for business. You know that. Her voice was sharp, like a cold knife slicing through thin plastic. I know. I mean, he asked if I knew people who didn't go out during the day. There's a few people like that in the building, but it's because they work all the time. It's not like they're vampires or... Did he use that word? What? Vampires? No, I did. I told him he sounded like he was describing vampires. Well, best not to mention that again, lest you destabilize him. Based on what I've read on him, he's likely to find the supernatural unsettling. I talk about vampires. The man had 2 people die in front of him. I think that's what we need to focus on. Only 2. Maybe I looked up the wrong Nicholas Torres. It's possible. It's not the most uncommon name. Interesting. A chill shot through me. What? Had he experienced more than he had let on? It's unprofessional for me to look up my clients outside of the service I'm providing to them. If there's more he wants to reveal, he can do it in time. But that question lingered there now, because I couldn't unhear the doubt in her voice. The question, the unspoken criticism of me, and my possible lack of knowledge. A thing to ask him next time, I suppose. Oh, and Patty, start answering your missed calls. There was a patient who couldn't get through and some detective, Mr. Fletcher, I believe he said his name was. It seems you've been dodging his calls for over a month. I nearly choked. What? He called you? I don't answer unlisted numbers. I blocked Richard's number years ago, but there had been a few times he'd gone through an unlisted line. I didn't answer them anymore after that. If that detective wanted to talk to me, he could get a number that actually showed up on my screen. You're going to answer them for now, at least until you talk to that detective. I don't need him bothering me when he wants to speak with you. At least respond to voicemails. I didn't like being ordered around like that. It made me feel like a petulant child. And why should I feel that way when I was actively trying to protect myself? It was true that I started deleting all my voicemails from those numbers without listening. I had been gripped with a fear that would be Richard hissing horrible things on the recording, so I just cleared them out. I'll take that silence as agreement. Keep up the good work. The call ended. I was left standing alone in my office, with nothing but questions and formless anxieties for company. Session 4. Oh my... What are you doing there, Nick? It was a little early in the day than usual, but Nick had called and asked for a last-minute session. He was hanging off the couch, looking at me upside down. There was a nervous energy about him, somewhere between excitement and anxiety. I need advice. Has something happened with your friend? Yes, but that's not it. I think we're both on the same page about things now. It's just, we're not sure what to do about this. We? Yeah, my new girlfriend. She knows about this problem too, and we're not sure what to do. So what's this problem you're having? He let out a deep sigh, ruffling a hand through his upside-down hair. I just found out about someone that did a horrible thing a long time ago. Something that hurt people years later. What do I do about it? I'm going to need more detail than that. Well, what they did, it changed someone. Made them different from who they were before. I don't think I can prove it. The person they changed, she's dead now because of what happened. Your friend, Bree? What? No, not her. Someone else I used to know. So, let's say she was bitten by a werewolf. I looked at him, the disbelief playing on my face. Vampires last time and now werewolves? What's gone into you? It's a metaphor, I guess. Just humor me, okay? Okay. That could be a helpful way of working through things. This person, they bit her, and because of that, she wanted to die because she could hurt people. But the first werewolf, the one who infected her, is still out there, living their life. I don't know what to do. There's nothing you can do. Go to the authorities, see if they can investigate and find something. But this is not your battle. What if I want it to be? The only thing you'll succeed in doing is destroying yourself, Nick. It's not worth it. Focus on your life, your new girlfriend. Don't go out looking for old wounds. You have enough of them. Remember the conversation I had with my boss, that the death of Nick's two friends might not be the only tragedy he has been involved in. Remind him of the future. I don't think you've opened up to me on everything yet. Whatever else there is, we can bring it up and explore it over time. Don't let these past things eat away at your future. That's not what this is about! Not right now. Right now, I need to decide what to do about this person. The person who keeps hurting people. Nick, you're in no place to handle this. I'm the only one who can handle this! He was sweating and angry, body shaking. This wasn't going anywhere good. Why don't we focus on self-improvement? Letting these thoughts of vengeance consume you isn't going to help anything. Forget it. I don't know why I thought you'd be able to help me with this. He wasn't listening to anything I was saying anymore, and I had that distinct, helpless feeling of being ignored that so consumed my life in the past. I said nothing as he stood up and walked out. This was my mistake, not yours. I know you're just doing your job. I just thought you might be able to give me some real-world human advice. My mistake. Nick! The word stung. The door shutting felt like a slap to my face. I sat there in silence, a movie until the buzzing of my phone brought me back to the present. The unlisted number was calling again. I felt the overwhelming urge to ignore it, but Dr. Lavallee's voice echoed in my head. I didn't need to get another call about how I was shirking my duties and wasting time. Patricia Rathburn, licensed family therapist. How can I assist you? Good of you to finally answer, Miss Rathburn. I've been trying to speak with you for, well, I guess it's been months. Detective Russell Fletcher, pleased to finally catch you. Well, getting a listed number might help with that. I did leave messages, if you don't mind me saying. I think that's a pretty good sign I wanted to call back. I have no interest in listening to messages from unknown people. Seems like a bad way to run a business. Our facility has a front desk. I'm not ignoring anyone. My irritation with him was growing. I didn't want to have this conversation in the first place. My head was still spinning with all that Nick had told me. Well, what I wanted to discuss was your past relationship with the Nash family, along with your current one with one Mr. Nicholas Torres. I hardly see how those two things are related. It was at Aspen Lodge, night of the murders. I think that's pretty related. What? It was at Aspen Lodge? But the Nash family died? I hate to tell you this, but yes, he was. The kid's been lying to you. I'd hardly call a 25-year-old a kid. He chuckled, a voice raspy and cold. Sorry. First time I met him, he was still 18. Still think of him that way, but it's not the issue at hand here. Surely it's just a coincidence. I can understand his not wanting to talk about. Miss Rathburn, I found you through Nick. Decided to take a closer look at his recent activities, and retracing those movements led me straight to you. Awful big coincidence, don't you think? He's a man obsessed. From what I can tell, he knew Grayson for a single day, but he spent years tracking pieces of a life down. I just can't believe he wouldn't know who you were. Everything he was saying was filling me with sick unease. If he had known who I was from the beginning, that had known the Nash family, that would mean... Oh God. Katie. Yes. Your daughter has been less than forthcoming about it, but I have reason to believe he's made contact with her. The words from our first meeting rang out in my mind. What did you say her name was? Katie. He had my last name already. Looking her up would have been easy. I had a sick feeling in my gut about who his unnamed friend was. No. He said they'd start dating. My head swimming. The detective's next words were a gobbled mess to me. But what I really want to know from you is what Grayson was like when she was younger. I hung up the phone. Not now. I had to make sure Katie wasn't. She hadn't been... The blocked number popped up again on my screen, but I ignored it. A text pinged. Please, call me back when you get the chance. Second ping, and his full number showed up on the next message. I sent Katie a message, heart pounding in my throat. I couldn't talk to her right now. If I did, she'd be able to hear the trembling in my voice. Are you dating anyone new? What's his name? Lol, so curious all of a sudden. Yeah, his name is Eric. It's Eric! Oh, I had nothing to worry about. Why? It's no big deal. Just start dating. Can I meet him? You said over a month of dating. So, no. Not yet. I let out an exasperated sigh. I told her that. Well, as long as the man she was dating wasn't named Nicholas Torres, I guess I could wait a few more weeks to see if he was a keeper. Session 5. Whoa, he is just completely slumped now. What's wrong? You seem off. He was lying across the couch, drained today, but he was so full of energy the meeting before. I guess I could relate to that. You haven't exactly been truthful with me, Mr. Torres. About what? Aspen Lodge? How'd you find out about that? I looked it up. That wasn't the truth, but it gave me a small feeling of control again. I've been increasingly spinning apart every time I thought about the talk with that detective. I don't see why that has anything to do with you. You're still lying to me. Set up properly, we need to have a discussion. No, I'll stay like this, thanks. Setting up ain't gonna change anything. I was getting defensive. I needed to pull back some, but it was so hard. He had found me through my link to Grayson. If he hadn't already, he was bound to make contact with Katie soon. I tried to laugh then, but it came out tinny and hollow. The only thing you didn't do wrong was date my daughter. He was silent at that, his face going pale. No, she said she was seeing someone named Eric, not... He smiled then, and it was a look of pure admiration. It chilled me to the core. She lied for me. She didn't have to do that. Why is he being so creepy now? What the frick? Get out. But we haven't talked. Look, I can explain it all. You saw what happened to Grayson, right? When she was bitten, it was no ordinary bite. I slammed my fist down on the table. So you did know I knew her? You goddamn liar. And now you're trying to smear that poor girl by calling her a werewolf? Nick groaned. He looked like he wanted to sit up and argue, but was just too drained to bother. No, I would never smear Grayson's name. She was one of the nicest people I've ever met. She didn't deserve any of it. Why? Why are you here? What's wrong with you? Coming here and opening up old wounds? Katie has me haunted that she wasn't there when... I know. I saw red at the confidence I heard at his voice. He knew. He knew what my daughter was feeling. I said, get out! Oh, will you just listen? I was up there for vacation. The owner, Felix, was a vampire. I let out an inhuman shriek at the very mention of a vampire. Do you think I care about that? I want to know why you thought it would be alright to date my daughter. He blinked, slow and deliberate, then stared up at the ceiling. Nah, well, I just went over there to ask her about Grayson, find out what she was like with other people and stuff. But she knew. She knew it was a werewolf bite that. No, none of that. Get out, and don't you dare speak to my daughter again. She's an adult. She can talk to you. Out! Now! Okay, I get it. Don't want to listen to what I have to say. But ask her. Ask Katie. She'll tell you everything. Please just take care. I don't want anything to happen to you. It sounded more like a threat to me than anything else, but he left with his hands held up in front of himself, visible and harmless, eyes pleading and tired. The moment the door slammed shut, I called Katie. Hey mom, what's up? Don't act so damn casual, young lady. My voice was shrill, and I was dimly aware that if I talked to her that way, there was no chance in hell this was going to go my way. I was panicked. I couldn't breathe. That she had known. The sigh on the other end of the line. You found out. About us. You knew he was trading with me, and you... I spotted the words out. He knows what happened to Grayson, Mom. What really happened. He believed me about the werewolf attack. That camping... I told you then, and I'm telling you now, Katie. Werewolves do not exist. It was a bear that attacked Grayson that night. I let you live that fantasy out for a while because of how much guilt you felt. But you need to accept that she moved away because her parents couldn't handle that dude pulled her off on that idiotic secret camping trip. You're always like this. I love you, Mom, but you're being so stubborn. He knows. He was there. He saw it. So werewolf killed Grayson this time. That's what you're saying? No, of course not. I'm saying Grayson was a werewolf. She killed her parents. There was a vampire there too, and from what I understand, not a very powerful one. He thinks there's one in the city too, near your work. He said he told you to keep an eye out. I let out a laugh that edged on hysteria. Oh, perfect. We'll just add more vampires into the mix. Why not? Look, Katie, Mr. Torres is unstable. Don't let yourself get too involved with him. It won't lead you anywhere good. Don't end up like I did with Richard. This has nothing to do with Dad. He's insufferable, but at least he talks to me like I'm an adult. You told me you don't talk to him. Yeah, well, I don't like seeing you upset. I know how much the whole thing hurts you, but he's my dad. So yeah, I still talk to him sometimes. There were tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. That was a fresh wound she just made. It wasn't the reason for my call. Richard wasn't the immediate threat. Katie, if Grayson killed her parents, then who killed her? Please, tell me it was the owner, the one who's missing. There was silence on the other end for a long time. Mom, I know you don't believe in these creatures, but I've seen it myself. I know. It was by luck and Grayson's love that I didn't die as a teenager. I have to help him make this right. I'll talk to you after. I'm sorry. The phone went dead. I was shaking uncontrollably. I called again but got a voicemail. Katie, please don't do this. He isn't well. Please. She didn't call me back that night. Or the night after. 3 weeks had passed since that day. Katie never answered her phone when I called, and Nick never responded to me either. It was as if they had both vanished off the face of the earth. Don't worry, Miss Rathburn. I'll let you know if I hear anything, but if she left with him willingly, there's not a lot we can do. She's an adult. I know, but he's dangerous. I just know he's dangerous. Please find her and tell her to come home. I never got any news. Nicholas Torres had vanished from the face of the earth, and so had my Katie. Bad end? Okay. Apparently I did everything wrong. As in everything. God freaking damn it. So the first thing I gotta do is to press him. You scheduled an appointment to discuss how everything is fine? No. Guess I didn't. It's just that I'm not used to, well, talk about feelings. About anything, really. That's okay. You're here to work on that. Even admitting that is progress. He smiled. It was a small and hesitant thing. His next words were self-deprecating. Yeah, I've made this sort of progress before. Never lasts. These sort of things move in fits and starts. It's never a straight path. Yeah, but I don't know why my road has to be so damn bumpy. He swallowed, eyes flickering back to the clock. It's warm in here. Can you turn the air on? Yeah, sure, and we'll skip ahead. And now I'm supposed to offer him water. You want some water? Is it crazy that I feel like I don't deserve it? Nobody deserves to have something like that happen to them. I filled up a small paper cup from the cooler next to my desk and handed it to him. No, I mean the water. I don't... Making yourself uncomfortable isn't a way to tackle a painful experience. Nobody deserves to go through that kind of needless punishment. He swallowed the water in one gulp, then stared thoughtfully down at the little paper cup before emptying his cigarette ash into it. He kept moaning. For hours. I was there. Alive, but too messed up to move anywhere. And he just died in front of me. For hours. It was so far gone, he couldn't even give me any last words. Just that horrible sound. It's the 7th anniversary of their deaths next week. I think that's why I've been having these nightmares. I feel for you, Nick, but we're gonna have to skip ahead. So over here, I'm supposed to be asking about the accident, but I do want to show you guys a funny, like, bad end here, which is apparently the flirt end. So, if you have enough, like, trust points with Nick, you can ask him about the mistake. And, like, later on, we're gonna skip ahead. We're going to press him about it. What were you thinking? What makes you think you're too close to me? Well, I think we really connect. You feel that way because you've revealed pieces of yourself that you kept hidden. This is a safe space, so I hope you feel like we've connected. Yeah, I do. He looked me straight in the eyes and my heartbeat jumped into my throat. So desperate. So very desperate. His whole body screamed out desperation. Hattie, you feel connected to me too. I feel connected in a way a therapist connects with her patient, Nick. I had to nearly choke the words out. My throat was dry and my whole body felt a wave of nervous heat course through. What do you mean I feel nervous heat? It's gotta be in my head, but you just call me Patty. You feel so far away over there. There is nothing physical about this relationship, Richard. I snapped at him and he physically jerked back, eyes wide. Yes, he had been thinking along those lines. And I called him by my ex-husband's name. Well, I have to go. I'm sorry. He got up and nearly sprinted from the room. He was pale and trembling almost as much as I was. The door slammed shut. I stared at the empty couch and buried my head in my hands. Frick! Oh no! Right, let's ask about the accident instead. Let's talk more about why you feel this way. What makes you so sure you're undeserving? What happened is terrible, but it did happen. There's no way around that. Imagining a world where it didn't can be a way of hurting yourself. He closed his arms around himself, as if it were all that was holding him together. If I don't do that, then there's nothing there. I'm afraid I won't feel anything at all if I don't. Would you like to consider a referral to our psychiatrist or medication? His voice grew sharp. No, I don't want anything. Les' refusal hung in the air for a moment, but didn't press him further on the topic. Alright, just know it's on the table if you change your mind. How are things going in other parts of your life? Outside relationships? I've been focusing more on my hobbies than work. Probably shows, huh? Yeah, definitely does, and we're skipping ahead. So, Nick, what about your past? Nick, I want you to be honest with me. What else have you seen? It's just not the car accident, isn't it? Still flung over the couch, he seemed to collapse in on himself. No, there was something else. Something... It was bad. What was it, Nick? In a voice so low, I could barely hear him, he began to talk. Have you heard of Aspen Lodge? The murders there? I was there when it happened. I pushed myself out of the chair, standing rigid, staring down at him in shock. What? You were there? You mean the Nash family murders? I saw the bodies. I was snowed up there along with a few other guests. I was the least lucky though. Just had to go for a walk, right? I felt as if the air had been kicked out of my lungs. He'd met Grayson. Maybe he'd just seen her body. He couldn't have known my closeness to the case though. That I had known the little girl who had been growing into a young woman when her life had been cut short. That's not what this is about. Not right now. Right now I need to decide what to do about this person. The person who could keep hurting people. And we're skipping ahead. Session 6? Huh. Neat. A week passed without word from Katie. I called every day only to get her voicemail. I was terrified that voicemail message was the last thing I'd ever hear from her. Nick's number didn't even get me that far. This number is no longer in service. Detective Fletcher was calling again. After a miserable week of no return calls from Katie, I answered. It almost felt like we were on the same team now. Any luck, Miss Rathburn? I was just about to ask you the same thing. Look, I know you're not supposed to provide them to me because of confidentiality and all that, but if you could give me a look at all your notes on Mr. Torres, it might assist me in finding him. I only hesitated for a moment. A sick, twisting knot of worry and rage had been eating away at my professional shell all week. He ran off with my daughter. I'm not the one who violated our contract. You'll get your files. Just find him and Katie. Alright, I'll be waiting for your call. I left my laptop at the office like I usually did. Part of me considered getting it in the morning, but I couldn't help but think about the time I'd lost waiting already. Detective Fletcher had given me something to do, something better than leaving increasingly desperate voicemails. I dialed my boss, intending to leave a message and let him know that I've gone into the building after hours. Hattie, why the late call? It feels like we haven't talked in weeks. I've been busy. I heard something about your daughter running off with a client of yours, the unstable one. I sighed directly into the phone. Rumor has it that it directly involves you and a werewolf? The boy really is obsessed now, isn't he? Dr. Lavallee laughed, repeating the salacious gossip that had been spreading around the office. I don't need to be teased right now, thank you. I was just letting you know I'd be in the building tonight to grab something. See you Monday. I hung up. Well, I could get told off for that later. I wasn't in any mood to deal with discussions of the supernatural. Nick! The lights in the office were off, the darkness making the room feel both larger and more suffocating than it normally was. The sound of her raspy, shuddering breath made me whip around. A dark shape sat at the couch. I fumbled for the light switch, but was so unnerved that I couldn't find it. Patricia, why the hell are you here? Not supposed to be here. That voice. I knew that voice. Nick, what are you doing in my office? A low, raspy laugh. I screwed up. Katie and I couldn't breathe. She had been with him, but she wasn't here. At least, I couldn't see anyone else in the dark. There was a strange tang to the air in the room, raw and metallic. Nick, where's Katie? She'll be okay. At least, I'm pretty sure. She didn't get bitten, if that's what you're worried about. He was still going on about this werewolf fantasy. A hand groped helplessly at the wall. There! I flipped the switch. I nearly gagged at what I saw. Smears of crimson, darker than the pillows, stained the couch. In the middle, I saw Nick, coated in blood. His hands were so covered, I wasn't sure if it was his own or someone else's. Maybe both. Sorry about the mess, Miss Rathburn. I think I screwed up your couch. I stumbled back, hand shaking. I wanted to run right then, but I had to know. Nick? Where's Katie? We found her, you know. The werewolf that bit Grayson? She's dead now. He laughed, low and strained, or with those sobs. Tears started to streak down his face. Oh, God, I'm crying. I told her I wouldn't. Let me finish her off, you know. Wanted me to do it. Told me before she transformed. It was just like... Whoa! Wow, that's badass! He stared directly at me. If it weren't for the words coming out of his mouth and the blood smeared everywhere, it would have looked perfectly comfortable there. Upset, but perfectly sane and stable. You aren't talking about Katie, are you? What? No, I told you, she'll be fine. Where is she? I can't say. We screwed up. Someone else knew where we were going. We beat them to the werewolf, but then this guy comes out of nowhere, says he was there to collect me. Like some trophy for his master. He shivered, looking ghostly in the lamplight, and his eyes flashed with anger. I will not be someone's pet. Nick? What happened to Katie? He grabbed her. Wanted to use her as collateral, but I killed him before it came to that. Except, she got hurt. I had to stab through her to get the damn vampire spawn. Nowhere lethal, but she's in the hospital recovering. Where? Where? My voice didn't sound like my own anymore. It was too high and panicky. I can't tell you. Too many people know already. It's not safe anywhere tonight. You need to go home. Now. Or even better, go get a room somewhere and don't tell anyone where you are. Why would I do that? I told you, Patricia. I screwed everything up. Didn't I warn you? If you don't leave now, I'll screw you up too. He said it so coldly that my knees turned to rubber. I turned and ran, sprinting down the flight of stairs and down to the underground parking garage where I left my car, feeling the entire time that I was teetering on the edge of collapse. Everything was a blur. Katie was hurt, and Nick wouldn't tell me where she was. He had hurt her. He told me he hurt her. I tried to call Detective Fletcher. He could help locate Katie. Voicemail. Heart in my throat. I called the emergency line. Emergency services. The operator's voice crackled in the poor underground reception. Please, come right away to... My heel caught an uneven piece of asphalt, and I went sprawling across the ground. My phone went clattering away. I heard indiscernible chatter from the operator, and a small beep, and knew my call had disconnected. I took a deep breath. Nobody was here with me. It was fine. I just had to get to my car and get home. Footsteps. There was someone else coming to the garage. I stood up and hissed in pain. I'd been wearing a skirt and my raw knees had scraped along the ground when I fell. My palm stung from the impact. I limped along, dimly aware that I may have also twisted my ankle. Something to worry about later. I felt a cold hand clamp itself down on my shoulder. My head felt frozen in place, as if that grip was tightening around my neck instead. A voice rang out behind me. I couldn't turn around and see who spoke. You seem lost. Let me help you. Was it Nick? Did he follow me down here? That's okay. I just need to get home. Oh, didn't you know? Know what? You don't have to worry about that anymore. In fact, you'll never have to worry about that ever again. I am sorry? Jesus Christ, Nick can't get a goddamn break in this goddamn series. But anyway, that was Up All Night Rumination. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys do want to play this for yourselves, link to the game will be in the description below. I will be back with Up All Night Daybreak soon enough. And once again, like, this game is part of this year's Queer Halloween Stories bundle. Link to that is in the description, like after the link of the game. The series is gruesome. The series is awfully gruesome, and it keeps throwing me through so many loops in like... It's like a roller coaster of emotions here, and I absolutely love it for that. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of the day, and as always, I'll be seeing you in the next video. This is Lion, signing off. Ciao.